George Russell started third at Spa with a Mercedes capable of winning. A few seconds later, the power disappeared. He climbed through Eau Rouge with the field charging behind him, lost the electrical energy needed to defend, and suddenly became one of the slowest cars on the Kemmel Straight. Lewis Hamilton arrived. The gap vanished. The cars collided at Les Combes. Russell spun into the gravel, his race was over, and his championship challenge suffered another devastating blow. But Russell's anger was not focused only on Hamilton. He called the power loss dangerous. Then Toto Wolff confirmed the problem was real, admitted Mercedes had failed its driver, and said the responsibility went 100% on the team. That changes the entire crash. Because Russell was not simply beaten in combat. Mercedes placed him in a high-speed battle without the power needed to protect himself. And this was not the first time the team had taken a major result away from him. Subscribe to the channel. Russell's Belgian Grand Prix should have been an opportunity. He began from third after Lando Norris received a penalty. That placed the Mercedes directly behind the leading fight, with enough performance to challenge for another major result. The car had been among the strongest packages of the season. Mercedes had built an advantage through powerful acceleration, efficient energy recovery, and precise electrical deployment. In simple terms, the car was exceptionally good at collecting energy and releasing it when the driver demanded maximum power. That made Mercedes difficult to attack. It also made what happened to Russell almost impossible to understand. The system that normally protected him suddenly disappeared. And it disappeared during the opening lap, when the field was still compressed and every driver was searching for positions. That timing turned a technical weakness into a safety threat. A driver can manage reduced power when he knows it is coming. He can move away from the normal racing line. He can warn the team. He can allow faster cars to pass. He can change how he approaches the next corner. Russell did not receive that luxury. The problem appeared while he was climbing through one of the fastest sections in Formula One. The cars behind were already committed. The Kemmel Straight was opening ahead. The braking zone at Les Combes was approaching. And Russell's Mercedes was no longer accelerating as expected. That is why his reaction was so strong. This was not only about losing places. It was about losing control of the situation. When Russell pressed the accelerator, he expected the car to respond. Instead, the power unit system left him exposed. That word matters. Exposed. At Spa, straight-line speed is not only an attacking weapon. It is protection. It prevents the cars behind from closing too rapidly. It gives the driver space before the braking zone. It allows him to choose whether to defend or attack. Russell lost that protection. Several cars began moving around him. Hamilton was one of them. And by the time they reached Les Combes, Russell was no longer controlling the battle. He was reacting to a chain of events created by the missing power. That is the detail the crash replay could not show. The contact happened at the corner. The real incident began earlier. It began when the Mercedes failed to deliver the energy Russell needed. The power loss changed the closing speed. The closing speed changed Hamilton's opportunity. Hamilton's opportunity changed the positions of both cars. Then the available space disappeared. The collision was the final consequence, not the beginning. The stewards still judged Hamilton responsible for causing the contact. He received a 5-second penalty. That decision addressed the driving move at Les Combes. But Russell's explanation and Wolff's admission revealed a different layer. Hamilton was attacking a Mercedes that was not operating normally. Russell was defending without normal straight-line performance. Remove the power problem, and the cars may never arrive at the corner together. That does not remove Hamilton's responsibility for the touch. It explains why the opportunity existed. And this is where Russell's frustration becomes understandable. He had done what Mercedes asked. He qualified near the front. He placed himself inside the leading group. He approached the opening lap expecting a competitive car. Then the machine removed the performance before he had any chance to use it. A driver can accept being overtaken by a faster rival. He can study the race afterward. He can identify where he lost time. He can improve the next weekend. A sudden technical failure offers no such control. Russell could not create more electrical energy from the cockpit. He could not repair the power unit while traveling through Eau Rouge. He could not stop the field from closing. He could only react. And the reaction came with almost no time. Think of joining a fast motorway. You press the accelerator expecting the car to surge forward. Instead, it gives you only part of the power. Vehicles behind are still approaching at full speed. You cannot stop safely. You cannot accelerate away. And every second makes the situation more dangerous. That was Russell's problem, multiplied by Formula One speed. His Mercedes remained on the circuit. It still looked alive. but it was no longer performing within the window the drivers behind expected. That is more deceptive than a complete engine failure. When a car stops completely, the problem becomes obvious. The driver moves away. Flags may appear. The following cars understand the danger. A partial power loss creates confusion. The car is still moving quickly, just not quickly enough. The closing speed rises without a clear warning. The following driver must recognize the problem, choose a side, and prepare for the braking zone almost simultaneously. Now add several cars. Cold tires. Heavy fuel. An opening lap. A narrow approach to less combs. That is why Russell called the issue dangerous. The word was not exaggerated. The power loss created a safety problem before it created the crash. And Mercedes could not dismiss his reaction. Toto Wolff confirmed that the team had found a genuine engine issue. He explained that Mercedes lacked power on the straights. He said Russell had less energy available to deploy at the critical point. Then he accepted the responsibility. 100% on Mercedes. That admission was unusually direct. A team principal could easily have focused on the contact. He could have blamed Hamilton. He could have described the incident as opening lap chaos. He could have avoided discussing the power unit until the investigation was complete. Wolff did the opposite. He acknowledged that the team had contributed to Russell's retirement. That protected the driver publicly. It also placed enormous pressure on the engineers. Because Mercedes had not simply lost a position. It had placed one of its drivers inside a dangerous situation. And the wording suggested the problem was broader than Russell's car alone. Wolff said Mercedes engines had been affected by the lack of power on the straights. That means the issue may have existed across more than one machine. The consequences were simply most severe for Russell. Another driver might experience a small loss while alone. Russell experienced it while the entire field was directly behind him. Another driver might lose a fraction of lap time. Russell lost the race. This is what makes reliability failures so unpredictable. The same technical weakness can produce completely different outcomes depending on when it appears. A power loss during practice creates data. A power loss in clean air costs time. A power loss on the opening lap at Spa creates danger. Russell received the worst version. And this was not the first painful failure of his season. In Canada, he had already lost what appeared to be a probable victory because of a battery problem described as catastrophic. That was a major opportunity. Russell had placed himself in position. The car failed. Then Monaco produced another operational setback through a failed pit stop. Now Belgium added a power unit problem. Different causes. The same driver losing results. That is how frustration grows. Not through one difficult weekend. Through repetition. Canada. Monaco. Belgium. One likely victory. One costly pit lane failure. One opening lap retirement. Russell could look back at the championship and see a collection of points that disappeared for reasons beyond pure pace. And now the consequences were severe. Belgium became his third race of the season without points. The gap to Kimi Antonelli expanded to 50 points. That changed the internal title fight dramatically. Russell had entered the race trying to reduce the deficit. He started third. He had the opportunity. Instead, Antonelli continued scoring while Russell watched from outside the race. The championship table records only the result. It does not explain the power loss. It does not explain the danger at Eau Rouge. It does not explain the failed pit stop in Monaco. It does not explain the probable victory lost in Canada. It simply shows one driver ahead and the other falling further behind. That can be brutal inside a team. There is no evidence Mercedes deliberately treated Russell unfairly. Mechanical failures do not choose a driver because of preference. But repeated failures can still create the feeling of inequality. One side of the garage keeps completing races. The other keeps absorbing the consequences. One driver gains confidence. The other begins asking how many opportunities will disappear next. That question can change how Russell races. A driver who trusts the car can be patient. He can accept a conservative strategy. He can wait for the correct moment. A driver who fears another technical failure may feel he has to attack immediately. Every opportunity becomes urgent. Every position must be taken now. Every race may be the one where the machine fails again. That mindset can create more aggressive starts. More risk in qualifying. Less willingness to support a teammate. Not because the driver has become selfish. Because reliability has made patience dangerous. Mercedes now had two problems. The technical problem inside the power unit. And the emotional problem inside Russell's championship. The first required engineering. The second required trust. Wolff attempted to address the trust immediately. He said Russell had the team's full support. He acknowledged that part of the outcome may still have involved the driving. But he insisted Mercedes was in the fight together. That message was carefully balanced. It did not pretend Russell had no role in the final seconds. It did not ignore the penalty given to Hamilton. It made clear that the power unit had failed to perform as it should. That was important. Russell needed the team to acknowledge reality. But acknowledgement does not return 50 points. It does not recover Canada. It does not restore Belgium. And it does not guarantee the next race will be clean. That is where Mercedes faced the real test. The team had to identify exactly why the power disappeared. Was there a battery state problem? Was the energy deployment strategy incorrect? Did the system fail to harvest enough energy? Did the engine enter a protective mode? Was there a software issue? Was the reduced deployment a consequence of another fault? The source confirms the power problem. It does not provide the final detailed diagnosis. That uncertainty matters. A known problem can be fixed. An unexplained problem can return. And until Mercedes finds the precise cause, Russell cannot be completely certain the next acceleration will feel normal. That uncertainty may remain in the cockpit. The next time he approaches a long straight, he will notice the power delivery. The next time the battery level looks unusual, he will remember Spa. The next time several cars sit behind him, he may wonder whether the Mercedes will protect him. Will the energy arrive? Will the engine respond? Will the car suddenly become vulnerable again? Those thoughts may last only a fraction. At Formula 1 speed, a fraction can change a decision. A driver may move earlier, defend differently, brake sooner, avoid a risk he would normally accept. That is how a failure continues costing performance after the broken system has been repaired. The physical problem ends. The doubt remains. Mercedes must remove that doubt through repetition. Full power. Normal deployment. Predictable acceleration. One lap. Then another. Then an entire race. Russell needs the car to answer the same way every time he presses the throttle. That is more important than one spectacular peak number. A driver can plan around slightly less power. He cannot plan around power that may disappear without warning. Predictability creates confidence. Confidence creates commitment. Commitment creates lap time. This is why reliability is not separate from performance. Reliability is performance. And Mercedes had already shown how powerful its electrical system could be. The car's acceleration had been one of its strongest advantages. Its energy deployment helped it dominate power-sensitive circuits. The system collected energy efficiently. It released that energy at the exact points where rivals struggled. That allowed Mercedes to build gaps even when driver throttle inputs looked similar. The machinery created the advantage. Then in Belgium, the machinery created the vulnerability. That contradiction should concern the team. Its greatest strength became Russell's greatest weakness. The same system that usually launched the Mercedes away from rivals left him exposed to the entire field. That is not a normal performance fluctuation. It is a dramatic reversal. One moment, the power unit is a weapon. The next, the car cannot defend itself. And the new regulations make that performance cliff even steeper. Electrical energy now represents a huge part of the total power. The balance between combustion and electric output is much closer than before. Lose the electrical contribution, and the car does not lose only a small boost. It loses a major part of its acceleration. That is why a battery or deployment failure can become catastrophic almost instantly. There is no long warning. No gradual decline. The driver asks for power. The system does not deliver. The rival closes. That is exactly what happened to Russell. And Spa magnified every part of the weakness. The Kemmel straight rewards full deployment. The run toward less cones gives the following cars a slipstream. The opening lap places every car close together. Russell lost energy at the worst possible point, under the worst possible circumstances. That combination turned a technical problem into an accident. Hamilton's penalty addressed the final contact. It could not restore Russell's result.